Jeremy Plunk and Caton Bradar from Horse Player Now as we take a look at one of the cool days late in the calendar in horse racing, Delta Downs Jackpot Day, coming up from Vinton, Louisiana this Saturday. Caton, 11 races, 8 stakes, first post 215. It's going to be a great day. You've been there before. Tell the fans what it's like on Delta Downs Jackpot Day.
There is a real electric atmosphere on track for the day. Everybody turns out. They get a big crowd. It's a crowd that's able to get close up to the racetrack, so you really kind of feel the excitement and are close to the horses. You know, it's a smaller track, so it's cozy, but that said, there's a pretty long straightaway, and a lot of excitement builds when the horses turn for home and pound down that stretch. And I love to see some of the local horsemen that you don't often see kind of save their best horses for some of the stakes races.
Right.
So there's a lot of betting opportunities as well as kind of a lot of fun in seeing the local pride.
And a national simulcast audience is going to tune in here for afternoon racing, typically a night track. So there's going to be some unfamiliarity with the local horses and the Louisiana bred stakes that could create some overlay and underlay situations. Maybe the New York, California, Florida horses may get overbet a little bit from that national simulcast audience. It'll be very interesting to watch the tote board. Of course, if you're playing the pick four, it's going to be a big pool. Over the past couple years, $200,000, $250,000, now up over $300,000 expected in the pool for the pick four on Delta Downs Jackpot Day, and it gets started in race number 4. Races 4 through 7 will be the pick four that will take the big money here on Saturday, culminating with the 7th race, that being the Delta Downs Jackpot. Caton, let's get into that 4th race. It's a Louisiana bred stakes, a fuller field, and this may be one of those situations where the out-of-town simulcast money is a little bit more unfamiliar.
Yeah, absolutely, and I will say that this is one of those races where, because you don't have too many household names, the horses and the horsemen are really knowledgeable about the circuit, about the track, and about what it takes to win. You can really zero in on percentages and certain trainers, if you look over the years, that do well at Delta, particularly on the day. And you can also look at kind of how some of the trainers are faring for the meet.
Right.
Some names will pop right up, and because of that, there were a couple horses that I was kind of looking closely at, but geez, Josh is going to get some play and is probably going to be pretty tough to beat just by virtue of Brett Calhoun and his familiarity with the circuit. He will always have horses there. He picks and chooses the ones that he knows fit the best. Horse was an easy winner last out, and I think we'll be taking some money, and also rightfully so, and be very tough in here, but he didn't draw a very easy post. So that could open the door a little bit for some of those inside horses, like even the 3. Frisky at the bar, Brett Brinkman is one of the names you always have to watch out for when you're in Louisiana and at Delta Downs. So he's winning at about 30%, I think, for the meet so far, but it's a new meet. But the horse has started just one time, draws better. It's another one to really keep an eye on.
Louisiana Legacy for 2-year-olds, and they will be going around 2 turns at a mile distance there in this race. I'm going to throw another one out there for the fans. Bernie Strike, coming off a maiden win against Open Company, now against Statebreds again. Always something to keep an eye on as horses move in and out of class. While it comes off a maiden victory, coming back against the Statebreds may not be the class rise that it would appear to be on paper. Let's turn the page to leg B of the pick four, and this is where the fans are going to be pretty familiar with the runners. The Delta Mile. Before the Jackpot, this was the race at Delta Downs over the years, and the Delta Mile's a good one. We've got a very familiar face in this one that fans will know.
Rise Up looks to have plenty left. Gerard Melanson is sitting chilly, but here comes Rank Has Privileges. Mighty Brown is under a drive on the inside. Then Casiguapo. Big Bazinga has checked out. Coastline is back from there, but it's Rise Up who has the lead. Rise Up went 3/4, 1:11.94. He's coming to the 16th pole. It's Gerard Melanson and Rise Up. Air up the tires, gas up the tank. He's on the road to the Derby. It's Rise Up in the $1 million Delta Downs Jackpot.
Well, we flash back to the present with Rise Up, and he returns to the scene of some of his best scores. 2 for 2 at Delta Downs at now 4 years old. Caton, how much does that horse-for-course angle matter to you with a horse like Rise Up in the Delta Mile?
Well, it's a very important ingredient. I think a horse that's demonstrated they like the track, and also that has the quality to be competitive at the highest level. But my concern about Rise Up is twofold. Number one, he's really not in as good a form as he's been in his prior trips to Delta. His last, I thought, at Thistledown was supposed to be a bit of a confidence builder, and it really, to my mind, was kind of a disappointment. I mean, he was odds-on favorite, and he really ran flat. He's going to have to step up an awful lot. On top of that, Tom Ames is having probably one of the toughest years I've seen in recent memory, and those two factors combined to make me take a stand against.
If you don't like that horse for course, you still have another option. Agent Donoso has done some pretty good things. Major stakes winner over this track at Delta. What do you think of the Agent?
You know, I do like the Agent. I was actually there the first time Agent Donoso came to Delta and won. And he is a horse that sort of rises to the occasion. He really does some of his best work at that track. He's a little off form of late as well, but I do think he's a horse that, unlike Rise Up, could probably move forward just with the geographical change for Steve Margolis. And it also appears to me that he's sort of been pointed specifically for the spot. He got a little bit of a break, and now this will be his third start back in the form cycle off the layoff. So I also love that you're getting Aramia as his jockey, because Richard Aramia is an extremely skilled reinsman who is in Louisiana, based there, knows this track, draws great. So I give him a little shot.
Then you have a horse like Departing. This is one of those name horses that we're talking about. The national simulcast audience may know Departing better than any horse running on the card. And so there's going to be a lot of magnetism, I think, with people drawn to him. Is he worthy of the price that you can probably expect, or are we going to take a stand against Departing? Me, personally, I'm not sold on him in this spot.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Jeremy, although it's hard to be very forceful against a trainer that's winning with 50% of his starters at the meet, and especially Al Stahl. I don't love the post for Departing. I think even though you do want to be in a position to save some ground at Delta, especially at the 1 mile distance with a relatively short run to the first turn, well, shorter, let's put it that way, than we're going to see in the Jackpot. I sometimes down right on the rail kind of puts you quite literally in the jackpot, because as horses struggle a little bit, you're kind of uncomfortable down on the inside. He's also a horse that I think is kind of big and takes a little bit of time to get going, and I think that could cost him in this type of a spot. So I'm kind of with you in taking a stand against, but he's a nice horse. And probably deserving of favoritism or some support, but I just can't take him at a short price. I like a horse that actually is going to, I think, be much better odds. Cougar Ridge, who's just kind of in form, coming off a series of really nice races, and kind of watch this horse develop. I think he's really peaking. Robbie Alvarado, Louisiana, knows this as well as anybody, but rides on the top circuit. 7 Post I'm not in love with, but that said, with his style, I think Robbie can get him into a good spot. And Randy Morris is the type of trainer I've had a lot of luck with. When he ships, he really ships with purpose.
I thought the Morse horses were running very well at Keeneland. That's transferred over to Churchill, too. So you got a barn that's doing good things right now. We're on the same horse there, Cougar Ridge. But I would use the major name horses in a pick 4. I don't think you want to get beat in the pick 4 by a Departing or a Rise Up or Al Stahl. And you'd hate to have 3 out of 4 in the pick 4 and not have Al Stahl or Tom Ames in a big stakes in Louisiana. I think they're usable, but like you, inch your race. I think Cougar Ridge is the way to go. Let's turn the page here, and I think we're going to agree on this one. I think the world is going to agree on this one. The Delta Princess, Grade 3 stakes. It looks to be a coronation for the local prep winner, the winner of the My Trusty Cat. Her name's La Passionata. She's a sister to Beethoven. She's named for the Beethoven Sonata, and I think this one probably will be in tune, if you can use another bad pun.
Yeah, she's the single. I think she's beautifully bred. Stone Street Stables runner by Bernardini. Distance, no problem as she steps up from 7 furlongs. And both her races have been faster and more impressive than anything run prior to this. She gets also Gerard Milan's son and has the benefit of a race over the track, and I think this is a real key. I might not feel quite as strongly about her had she not won the prep for this, and that is a real key angle with trainers like Steve Asmussen that have the benefit of splitting their stables, sending divisions to Delta or to Louisiana in general, and then getting a race over the track. So she's the play, I think.
We single her. If you're going to play inter-race, who do you want to work in with her underneath?
Well, Learning Curve is intriguing. Draws well toward the inside and also goes from a less experienced jockey, Jack Gilligan, good rider, but just lost his apprentice allowance, to Robbie Alvarado. So you're kind of going from extremes in terms of experience. And the horse ran credibly. I also like the fact that she's by Super Saver. I think she's going to continue to improve with a little distance, precocious here. And Ron Moquette has had the best season of his career.
Right.
The stable just went over $2 million in earnings. He does a great job picking spots and shipping. I wish Learning Curve had the benefit of a race over the track or at least a win. You like to see them cross the finish line first, but I do think she's very playable underneath the favorite.
Well, we're both going to be live in this pick 4 going to the last leg,
Yep.
or we're both going to be out because I think we have a lot of similar opinions. But it's time to get to the big one, the Delta Jackpot, the $1 million feature here. Delta Downs Jackpot at 1.16 miles. A pretty full field, maybe top heavy with some of the superstar names in here. The morning line favorite is Exaggerator, already a major graded stakes winner this year, this summer at the Spa.
After a half mile and 45 flat, and they're into the stretch, and it is Saratoga Mischief, and on the outside is Hammer's Vision, who's up into second. Looking for running room is Exaggerator, and now he'll come to the inside of Saratoga Mischief. Furlong to go. Saratoga Mischief, Exaggerator coming up the rail. Exaggerator, collar Saratoga Mischief late, and Exaggerator wins the Saratoga Special. Saratoga Mischief was second, and then it was Hammer's Vision and John Q. Public.
Well, Caton, since that Saratoga Special win, a couple losses for Exaggerator, but certainly nothing lost in the reputation. A good second in the Breeders' Futurity, and then fourth in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, a race where it was not the cleanest of runs.
Right. In the Breeders' Futurity, it was a muddy racetrack, so he kind of had an excuse there. But I thought in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, in full disclosure, this was my horse. And I not only liked him going into it, but I did bet him as well on the day. And almost from the beginning, I was not feeling very good about my wager. He kind of had his hand forced. Kent was not able to, allow him to kind of settle and get into a comfortable rhythm early, which I thought was going to be critical. Kind of got caught up in a rough flow where he kind of had to make several moves down the backside. And then through the stretch, actually from the turn through the stretch of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, nothing went very well. I really thought, now I don't know if he would have won the race, but I do feel he would have been closer and involved with it. But I felt we were compromised from the very beginning, and then it just got worse from there.
Now, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile alumni have not had a lot of success wheeling back quickly in the Delta Downs Jackpot. Only one winner has pulled that off coming out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But I think you're right that Exaggerator's trip in the Juvenile indicates that with a clean run, he is among absolutely the best horses in this race. And if he fires, he's going to be very tough to beat. I know you have a couple long shot looks, horses that may be a little bit under the radar, one definitely under the radar, and another one slightly off the radar that you're looking here at as alternatives.
Right, now first we go toward the inside again, and I really believe, especially in the Delta Jackpot, with horses going 1.16 miles for the first time, and with a type of track that sometimes can be a little difficult for horses to handle the turns. They're not as accustomed to, I don't want to say it, but it is a tighter turned type of racetrack, and when they come in for the first time, there can be some bumping and jostling. So I think Memories of Winter, the 2, draws a nice post position, has some tactical speed, and I don't see a lot of speed in this race, has a pedigree to go well and go on long. He's by Hard Spun, and most importantly, he's undefeated in 2 starts for Anthony Margada. Now, I haven't seen Tony Margada with a good horse or top horse in a long, long time, but he's very smart about where he places his horses, and I think that this horse must have given him an indication that he had maybe a little something special, or he wouldn't be taking a shot like this. You get, most importantly, I think intriguingly, Pat Valenzuela, who just was recently cleared to ride and has been in New Orleans getting on some horses. Now, I don't know his level of fitness as far as race riding, but I know when he's on top of his game, he's one of the best that I ever saw. So I look at that as a plus, too.
We're flashing back to the 90s with Margada and Valenzuela,
Exactly.
but we're looking to the future with the 2-year-olds. How about Sunny Ridge, drawn right next door? You talk about Valenzuela, a jockey from yesteryear trying to resuscitate his career. The guy on the rise in 2015 has been Irad Ortiz, and he comes to town to ride.
Right, but and I do not knock his abilities. I think he is definitely one of the premier riders in the country right now, and going to be one of the rising stars as well, that in a few years we're talking about every time we're talking about a top horse and a top race. But that said, I think Irad is still young. He doesn't have a lot of experience at tracks like Delta Downs. Big difference from New York to Delta. And I noticed even when he came in over the winter to Gulfstream Park, it took a little time for him to kind of figure out the nuances of the track. Good horse can get the job done no matter what. And Sunny Ridge has a lot of positives. He's by Holy Bull. He comes off a second place finish in the slot behind a really, I think, pretty good horse in Greenpoint Crusader in the Champagne. He's fresh, and he's a little bit more experienced than some of the others in the field for another horseman I really respect, Jason Service. So I like him. I'm interested to see what the price will be. If he were as big as he was in the Champagne, which was like over 20 to 1, right, then I'd say very interesting. But I think he's going to get bet because of Irad Ortiz and the connections.
One horse I'm going to put my money on is Found Money, and he's a fourth-generation homebred for Paul Redham. Redham raced the Dam, the second Dam, the third Dam, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to play the horse here. Found Money, I think, has a chance on the front end like you were talking about. I think there's not a lot of speed in here. And if Valenzuela doesn't send memories of winter, that Found Money will be the horse on the front end. He was a good sprint winner at Santa Anita earlier this summer. Let's take a look back at his Santa Anita juvenile score.
Found Money puts his neck in front at the top of the stretch. Mrazek going right with him. These two have dominated the entire race. Chingon to the bone on the outside third. They're in the final furlong. Mrazek, Found Money. Found Money puts his nose in front. Mrazek at the rail will battle him, but now it's Found Money edging clear past the 16th pole. Found Money. Mrazek takes up a little as they run 1-2, the stablemates. Found Money wins the Santa Anita Juvenile. Second to Mrazek. Chingon to the bone was third. Swiss Minister fourth.
So Found Money will try to stretch it out in distance. For that, I'll have another trio with Mario Gutierrez, Paul Redham, the owner-breeder, and, of course, Doug O'Neill, the trainer, and Caton. Doug's been down this road at Delta before.
Yeah, Golden Sense. And I think that the Delta Downs officials were kind of hoping prior to the Breeders' Cup that they might see Nyquist in this race. But as it turned out, O'Neill, obviously got what he needed with the Breeders' Cup juvenile winner, but said, don't worry about it right away. He said, I'm going to have another horse in there. So this is a key race for a horse like Found Money, who's been very consistent, come up with some nice races. But I think that they're looking to the future with and hoping that this would be a horse that they could go down the Triple Crown Trail with. And if they were looking toward the Derby, there's some important points on the line with this, but also the class check. I like the horse. I wasn't in love with the post, and he has something to prove to me, but at the same time, I would never throw him out of the equation because his last two were very good races.
Well, that's going to wrap up this handicapping preview video. Caton Bradar and Jeremy Plunk from Horse Player Now. We're going to leave you with our Pick 4 team ticket. Good luck to you this weekend at Delta Downs. 11 races starting at 2:15 Eastern on Saturday. We'll see you then.